This video is going to be a little more pessimistic than I like to be, but despite all the gloom and doom, I want to end with a little bit of hope that we need to hold on to. The purpose of this video is to put into words the actual problem this entire transmog system raises, explain how we ultimately have no power or control over this system now that the box has been opened, and then end with what we can actually do moving forward. A lot of you are upset with the limit. I get that. Let me take you through a short story of why Bungie's transmog limit doesn't matter and what you should really be more concerned about. So to start, is there even a problem with the transmog system here in the first place? It kind of depends on who you ask. Some people have no problem with being limited on the amount of free armor pieces you can transmog each season, or paying for more transmogs past that limit. Some people hate there's a limit and that you have to pay for more. Some people don't care at all or fall somewhere in the middle of those two opposite ends. Where you stand really just comes down to how comfortable or not comfortable you are with microtransactions and your perceived value between paid cosmetics and your own money. If you're watching this video, you've already decided where you lie in those camps, and a lot of you have your own opinions on what that limit should be. 2, 4, 10, 20, unlimited. You all have some number in your head, but I think we can all agree that this limit is just to make Scrooge McDuck money. To understand why the limit doesn't matter, at least not to Bungie, we need a super quick microeconomics lesson. I promise in a second you'll have this moment where you'll just feel like you won't be able to look at things quite the same again, at least in regards to these microtransactions and Bungie as a business. In economics, there's a field called behavioral economics. It's basically using behavioral psychology to study how individuals or group of individuals make the buying decisions that they make. As you can imagine, if a company can reasonably predict how their customers or their potential customers will react or buy at different price points, they can come up with a plan that earns them the most money. Innocently, it's really just about maximizing the value for everyone involved. The buyer should get the most perceived value from the transaction for their money, while the seller should get the most monetary value for what they're providing. Bungie has over 7 years of buyer data at this point. They know how much you spend on the season pass, how much you spend on the Eververse, and how frequently you're buying or not buying, so they're able to pretty reasonably predict how much they can earn from whatever they sell because of all the data they've collected. You can bet that their team of analysts or the firm of analysts that they hired have a pretty good idea on how much money they can earn from transmog sales at multiple different limits. This is where it ultimately doesn't matter what limit they set the line in the sand for free transmogs. Either way, they're going to be making money off of this system. They've now opened Pandora's box and it can't be closed. And even worse, and by worse I mean how you're even in less control than you think, they've now established a reference point of value for transmog. If the level of outcry against the transmog system is deemed too much, they'll just raise a limit until that level is within the range that they're comfortable with. Let's say they double the limit of free transmogs that you can earn in a season because there was just too much bad PR, or they think they've lost too much goodwill with players. Well, now they've just done us a favor. The perceived value of what we were getting for free just got doubled. Either that's enough to bring the community back to where they want them to be, or they adjust it again until the community is where they want. Either way, they've already planned and analyzed how much money they can expect to generate at different levels. They're going to make a ton of money either way, or they wouldn't have created this system in the first place. So the limit of free transmogs was not an accident. It was not Bungie not getting things right or being out of touch with the community. It's the exact opposite. It's completely strategic. What I just mentioned is called price anchoring. That first price, or that first time you see something, you now have a reference point that you will always be influenced by moving forward. It's literally the meme of when your parents see today's gas prices, they're like, back in my day, you could buy gas for less than $1 per gallon. It's why so many different subscription plans have 3 different tiers. The cheap plan is the one that's expected not to sell much. The most expensive plan is the Hail Mary, where if someone buys it, then cool, more money. But the goal is to get people to buy that middle tier. The middle tier looks like it has the best value for your money when between the cheap and the expensive plan. Bungie has smart people that know all of this. They just added new members to their board of directors that specialize in this kind of stuff. This first transmog limit is just a throwaway to anchor players. When and if they raise that limit, we're gonna deem them heroes for listening to us. Just as easily, Bungie could just do nothing and say nothing on this from now until the end of time. Our attention spans are so short that they don't have to say anything to stop any community anger, because in a couple weeks, everyone's attention will be on something else. Don't believe me? Just look at PvP. Any PvP player will tell you how ignored they feel and how they feel that they've gotten nothing that they've asked for. Bungie could just as easily ignore the transmog limit just like PvP until it affects their key performance indicators, the things that they actually value most. Bungie has all of the power in this relationship because individually, we each don't have enough purchasing power to make any meaningful change. This video isn't some rally cry for us all to come together because, to be honest, I'm not even sure if there's a way to get enough people together long enough to affect anything. There's no way the limit's going to be removed completely, as sad as it is to say that out loud. They've already done the analysis for this system and have plans for the money to go towards the expanded Destiny universe. People's attention is just too fleeting and anger burns out too quickly for enough people to come together. Pandora's box has been opened and it can't be closed. And this finally brings us to what I view as the actual problem that we need to focus on, and that's how the monetization rules in the game just keep being rewritten. Say what you want about Fortnite or Raid Shadow Legends monetization, you can think too much is charged for skins, or it's pay to win, or pay to convenience, but at least you know that when you're going into the game. Destiny's rules have changed so many times now that the only thing we can expect is that more and or different monetization will come in the future. Destiny 1 began with no microtransactions, then it added the Eververse, and it wasn't really used. Before, you paid for DLCs about once per year, and now you pay for an expansion each year and then multiple seasons spaced out throughout the year. Destiny 2 launched with the Eververse, but everyone could bypass it by just playing the game and getting the same things that you'd pay for. Then, you couldn't earn as many things for free, and some things were Eververse only. Now, armor you already earned has an arbitrarily placed limit on how much you can earn for free before you need to pay. Honestly, with so many different changes over the years, we can only guess what comes next. I agree that they should make money and charge for what they create, but the problem is that the rules we all agree to keep changing. Let's end with what can we actually do that will make any change. There seems to be 3 things that Bungie listens to, or at least listens to enough to take some sort of action towards. 1, they listen to playtime in the game. Everywhere you look, everything Bungie does seems to be around sucking as much time from each player as possible. Which just goes back to money though. Someone that plays more Destiny each week is more likely to have a stronger emotional investment and is more likely to buy cosmetics for their characters. The second thing they listen to is money. If you buy cosmetics from the Eververse, stop buying any more if you want to send Bungie a signal. Maybe don't even buy the season pass or individual seasons if you really want to let them know how you feel. And the final thing that Bungie listens to is something that I'm not even really completely sure of anymore. It used to seem like Bungie cared about their reputation and the reputation of Destiny above all else, because a game that's beloved by its player base is a game that gets recommended to friends. It's a game that gets new players that hear the game is fun to play. I'm not so sure that this is something they hold as highly anymore, because it's something that's really important when acquiring new players to grow the company is the most important thing. That mattered more earlier into Destiny 2's life than it does now, because the amount of players that haven't played Destiny at this point probably never will. If acquiring new players was still something that really drove Bungie decision making, we'd see a lot more change, like new content for PvP. The fact that Bungie created this paid transmog system tells me very clearly that Bungie's goal now is to increase the monetary value of each player. That the way that they grow their revenue now isn't about getting more people to buy expansions or season passes, because they've already sold that to as many people as they can, or the cost to get new players now is way too expensive. Basically, they've sold a printer to everyone in town, so now they're starting to sell the ink. I'm going to go over this in a second video, since the more I think about it, the more I think that this monetization strategy is only going to get worse. All we can do is communicate through the things that Bungie values, like revenue, player time, and to an extent how Destiny is perceived to people. A game that all of its players are mad at and quit doesn't sell as many expansions or season passes to players that will never spend a penny in the Eververse, which is still a guaranteed way to get some money out of players, even if they won't buy silver. Also, people unhappy with the game won't buy as many cosmetics. If the monetization of Transmog is a problem for you, communicate with your money, your time, and communicate on public channels like Twitter, Reddit, YouTube, Twitch, or the Bungie forums. It doesn't make sense to me that Bungie would walk back a system that will make them tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of dollars a season. There's just too much money for Bungie to make at scale that will fund so many new investments for them to remove the cap completely. What can still happen is we get Bungie to raise that cap to a better one, which, like I said already, is probably what they already have in mind. Subscribe to the channel for the follow-up video about how this is only the start. Transmog as a microtransaction isn't going away. A subscription where you get all of the Eververse items is not coming. This is only going to get worse before it gets better. Speak with your money, your playtime, and your words, but be respectful. Thanks for watching. This whole world twice, if I could be a paradise.